So this, of course, is the big story that we are tracking. Hostilities have broken out between Israel and
The Gaza National Bank was destroyed by an Israeli airstrike on Sunday as fighting continues in Israel and Gaza.
The ongoing war between Israel and Hamas has been a sign of worry for the stock market investors across the world. But Warren Buffett's investment strategy during wartime has been characterized with a long-term perspective and focus on fundamentally strong companies. He often advises investors to stay the course, emphasizing the importance of not panicking during turbulent times. Additionally, Warren Buffett has historically found value in stocks of well-established companies with competitive advantages, viewing them as more resilient even in the face of global conflicts such as nuclear wars.
As an investor, I want to know how to address the risk of nuclear terrorism in the United States. Consider a scenario where terrorists have detonated a nuclear device in a major U.S. city. I know there would be a terrible cost in human lives. Gentlemen, what would happen to our economy? How would it respond? How resilient would it be? Thank you.
Well, it would certainly depend on the extent of it, but if you're asking how to profit from that, there's probably some dealer that will sell you mortality derivatives, but I'm not sure that's what we would be thinking about that. No, I agree with you, I couldn't agree with you more about that being the ultimate problem of mankind, not necessarily a terrorist type usage, but a state-sponsored usage of weapons of mass destruction, and it will happen someday. The extent to which it will happen, where it will happen, who knows? But we have always had evil people. We've always had people who wish evil on others. And thousands of years ago, if you were psychotic or a religious fanatic or a malcontent, and you wished evil on your neighbor, you picked up a rock and threw it at him, and that was about the damage you could do. But we went on to bows and arrows and cannons and a few things. But since 1945, it's the potential for inflicting enormous harm on incredible numbers of people has increased, at a geometric pace. So it is the problem of mankind. It may happen here, it may happen someplace else. People say sometimes they say, well, if we solve poverty, we'd solve this. Well, I would just remind you that nuclear weapons have only been used twice, and those were by the richest country in the world, the United States, in 1945. So people will justify their use under some circumstances if they feel threatened. They will justify them for religious reasons. They will do all kinds of crazy things. And what holds it in check is the degree to which the lack of knowledge of how to do it is controlled, and the degree to which the materials are controlled, and which the deliverability is circumscribed. And we're losing ground on all of those fronts. The knowledge is more widespread. The possibility of getting your hands on materials, the Dr. Kahns of the world and so on, has increased, and it will be it's a real problem. But we won't be thinking about what Berkshire did that day in the stock market. And I don't know. I don't know how money attacks that. I mean, I've always held that as the top priority. I think it should be the top priority for philanthropy in my particular case. But it's a very difficult. It's a worst case problem. You have 6 billion people in the world, and if a certain percentage of them who are one way or another a little crazy or very crazy, and some of whom, and that craziness would manifest itself by trying to do great harm to a lot of people. And it's only one of them has to succeed. I don't know how many we've intercepted over the years. I'm sure we've intercepted a lot of incipient ones, but it is a worst case problem, and one will succeed at some point. And it may be state sponsored, it may be terrorists. But Berkshire is better set to survive than anybody else, but it won't make much difference. Charlie?
Well, I think that the chances we'll have another 60 or 70 years with no nuclear devices used on purpose is pretty close to zero. So I think you're right to worry about it, but I don't myself think there's much that any of us can do about it except to be as sensible as we can and take the consequences as they come.
The only thing you can do about it, but you only have one vote, is to elect leaders who are terribly conscious of the product and problem, and who devote a significant part of their thought and energy into minimizing it. You can't eliminate it. The genie is out of the bottle, and you would like to have the leaders of the major countries of the world regarding it as a primary focus. Actually, in the 2004 campaign, I think that both candidates said it was the major problem of our time, but they probably suffer from the same feeling that I do, that it's very hard to address.